Serious, what are some creepy urban legends? There is a local lake that when I was growing up, I heard this story that a woman was drowned there by her fiancé. On certain nights she would come up out of the water, and if you happened to be parked near the lake, she would put her hand on your windshield. If she pulled her hand away and it left a handprint, it meant you were going to die too. That one about the guy who got lost hiking in the woods, so he wandered until he found a log cabin. He knocked the door but nobody answered. The door wasn't locked, so he went in. There was nothing in the cabin but a room with a bed and lots of paintings of monsters and beasts' faces in the walls. It was very late in the night already, so he fell asleep. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. Then when it was morning he was getting his things ready to go out, and that's when he noticed the scary paintings disappeared, and in its place there were windows. Couple local legends in my hometown. We had witch trials a few years before Salem. 2 women were accused. One was hanged. Apparently her grave was very close to my friend's house, and when she would look out the back door some nights she'd see a woman with long black hair covering her face looking up at her bedroom. We also have an abandoned Revolutionary War fort where a young man got choked out by an unseen force. All his friends saw it happen. No one really goes up there at night anymore. Heard a story once about a young girl whose boyfriend had asked her if she would like to go for a drink after her late shift. She agreed but she had to go back to her house first to get changed. Arriving at her home she noticed her roommate was asleep. She crept into her room to borrow an item of clothing and without waking her managed to creep back out. The following morning she returned home to find her roommate had been violently murdered. On the mirror however in lipstick it read bet you're glad you didn't turn the light on last night. In Pennsylvania there's the 7 gates of hell near Hallam Township. There was an insane asylum built in the forest away from the general population to keep all the patients away from people. It's believed that the asylum burnt down and many patients died during the fire or escaped into the surrounding forest. The name comes from the fact that a gate was built to keep the escaped patients from leaving the area. But when night falls you can follow the path past the first gate and will eventually pass through an additional 6 gates, and after passing through the 7th gate will end up in hell. The Whistler. Basically a son killed his father and the grandfather found out, whipped the boys back to a raw state, and made him carry his dad's bones in a sack for all eternity. Scary thing is that when he is around you will hear a whistle. Thing is, the louder the whistle the farther away he is. The closer he is the whistle will sound more faint. It's said he does this to play with you and confuse you before mutilating you and adding your bones to his sack. Said to have killed hundreds of people. That one about the babysitter that brings the kids to bed. In the hallway is a statue of a clown that bugs her. When she goes to check on the kids a few hours later she notices that the statue has a different stance. The babysitter starts to second guess herself, goes downstairs and the phone rings. It's the parents asking if everything is okay with the kids. Yep, everything is fine, except for that clown statue, it's creeping me out. The other side of the line goes, we don't have a clown statue. A young girl is home alone for the first time with only her dog for company. Listening to the news, she hears of a killer on the loose in her neighborhood. Terrified, she locks all the doors and windows, but she forgets about the basement window, and it is left unlocked. She goes to bed, taking her dog to her room with her, and letting it sleep under her bed. She wakes in the night to hear a dripping sound coming from the bathroom. The dripping noise frightens her, but she is too scared to get out of bed and find out what it is. To reassure herself, she reaches a hand toward the floor for the dog, and is rewarded by a reassuring lick on her hand. The next morning when she wakes, she goes to the bathroom for a drink of water only to find her dead, mutilated dog hanging in the shower with his blood slowly dripping onto the tiles. On the shower wall, written in the dog's blood, are the words humans can lick, too. I live in Florida, and there's an old sugar mill from the 1600s near me. At some point the slaves on the plantation started a revolt with the help of the Seminole Indians, and secured their freedom by killing many of the landowners. According to several people who were interviewed independently of each other, there is a ghostly Native American on horseback that still chases people off the property at the same time they attacked the colonists 400 years ago. In Mesa, Arizona, there used to be a monkey farm that has since been abandoned. There's not a lot to do here for people under 21, so after chilling at a coffee shop, we would sometimes go spelunking through abandoned buildings. One night we decided to go and visit the monkey farm. There were a lot of rumors going around about the origins of the facility and the types of experiments occurring in the facility, from them just testing basic things like medication all the way up to mutant monkey hybrids. Some people said that the facility was haunted because you could hear things banging from outside of the facility. Some people claimed they heard monkeys screeching. Throughout everyone in my age group, people started saying that the screeching was a hybrid that had been left behind, the facility being abandoned overnight, because once it broke loose, everyone fled and never looked back. Other rumors was that it was a monkey death camp, that the staff had left the monkeys behind, which thrived on cannibalism. A literal hell on earth for primates. Years later, footage started popping up showing that there were in fact monkeys still in the facility. The local branch of Fox News dug into it and found out that the facility had been under the radar, re-established by the University of Washington, and has been in use for several years now to breed monkeys for experiments. The part that makes the urban legend and rumors much more interesting is knowing that while we were exploring, those were real monkey screams and not just figments of our imaginations. I remembered that there was this story about a secret Japanese experiment near the end of World War II where an officer voluntarily goes into complete isolation to see the effects of isolation on the mind. He can cancel the experiment at any time by pressing a button. After about a month or so, he notices the food stops coming. After a while he decides that he can deal with isolation, but not starvation, so he presses the cancel button. Nothing happens. Now realizing that he's probably trapped in his room, he starts reciting the date and place to himself to keep his sanity. He's in an underground base in Hiroshima. The date is August 20th, 1945. This one is everywhere I think, but my mom used to tell me of a story of a woman who drowned under a bridge near our house, trying to save her drowning baby. Every night at about 3 AM it's said you can hear her and her baby crying. If you go to investigate she drowns you too. Probably my mom trying to keep me from going and playing under the bridge, but I was terrified as a kid. South suburbs of Chicago. The blue mist/fog at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. In the woods surrounding the cemetery on some nights you will see a floating ball of bluish fog. Some claim that if you get close enough you can see the shape of an old farmhouse complete with chairs or a swing on the porch and a lamp burning in the window. If you reach the house, you're never seen again. Quick version of one I remember from childhood. There's a young couple driving down a country road at night. When their car runs out of gas the guy says he'll get out and walk to the town a few miles down the road. The girl pleads with him not to leave her alone, but he says it's the only option. Eventually she falls asleep and is awoken a couple hours later by the sound of a car coming down the road behind her. As it gets closer she sees that it's a police car, so she jumps out and flags him down. The policeman asks her what she's doing out here, and when she explains her situation he asks her to get into the car and says he will drive her into town. After they've been driving for a while she sees lights up ahead on the road, and the policeman asks her to close her eyes for the next minute or so. She asks why, and explains that there was a crash and the ambulance was treating the wounded on the side of the road. She laughs it off but he insists. As they drive by, she can hear a commotion and can't resist peeking just a little. As she opens her eyes she sees a car on the side of the road, and jumping up and down on the roof is a crazed madman, covered in blood staring back at her and holding in his hand the severed head of her boyfriend. Cue music crescendo. Completely illogical, apocryphal of course, but scared the hell out of 5-year-old me. My city has quite a few, and I remember only one right now. I heard it while I was in school, around 5th or 6th grade. It's called the Evil Dead Curse. The Evil Dead curse. The legend is, if you watch the entire Evil Dead movie alone after 10 p.m., you'd die. Specifically, you'd just drop dead from a heart attack or a brain aneurysm or something. This started when the movie first came out. It was being shown at all theaters in the city and a few old people did die at late night screenings of this movie. One movie theater decided to debunk this urban legend and offered an ambassador car with a full tank of gas, tax-free if one person sat and watched the entire Evil Dead movie alone in their theater, specifically at midnight. One dude who had just come to the city heard of the challenge, went and watched the movie. After the movie ended, he went to the restroom to take a piss and didn't come out for quite a while. The theater owner waiting there with the keys to the ambassador car got worried, went into the restroom, only to find the dude dead on the floor. No marks on him, and the coroner's report stated heart attack as cause of death. No one even tried to watch Evil Dead alone after that. Here is an urban legend. So this 7-year-old girl lived in Russia. She always wanted to play piano, so on her 8th birthday her parents got her a little red piano. She played it all day every day. She played it so much her fingers start to bruise. Remember her fingers bruising later, so they went to the doctor. The doctor said it was just from her playing a lot. The doctor then followed up saying just keep playing and the bruising will stop. So she kept playing. About a week later the piano broke. There was only one person that could fix it. So the parents got her to come out to their house to fix it. When she arrived she asked everyone to step out so she could focus. About 30 minutes later she left and the piano was working. The little girl started playing again. About a week later the piano broke again. So they called out the old lady to fix it again. When she arrived she asked everyone to step out. The mom got suspicious and took a peek while the old lady was fixing the piano. What the mom saw horrified her. She saw the old lady taking out a mason jar with the little girl's blood. The old lady then proceeded to drink it. The mother called the cops and the old lady was arrested. It turns out the piano had microneedles in the keys that drained the little girl's blood whenever you played the piano. The piano was built to break when the mason jar was full. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more.